Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. And I'm still busy sharing out our damn show. So slow down the goddamn intro. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. In the upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
How bad, Gene? You know, maybe you just got to speed up your fingers there.
I mean, you're right. You're right. You're not lying.
But I'm excited. I'm always excited for the show. This week, though, I mean, we got a like low key loaded show, but at the same time, like kind of light. Like I'm very curious to see how spirited some of these topics get.
We're gonna go over it like we always do. Like it is what it is. We'll be pressing at the end for time. When we get in debates, man, they just go.
I know, and it's March now. March is the month,
bro. March Madness. We are gonna have the biggest March Madness bracket in the history of Wire2Wire. Just want to let y'all know that. Biggest March Madness bracket in the history of Wire2Wire. I am predicting, I could be wrong, 130 brackets in the Wire2Wire March Madness pool. 130. In the upper right corner, Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross.
Madness has already started, gentlemen. We have conference tournaments already going. Started yesterday. Got a bunch more started tonight. It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be fun.
Bro, Madness is always fun, and especially the way college basketball is breaking down. 15, 16 teams that can win national championship. That's just what it is this year. It's wildness. I'm fired up. We're gonna get to college basketball this week. I don't care if we got to skip UFC because the UFC is not doing themselves any favors. Damn, one fight per card that anybody gives a shit about. Screw Dana White. I actually like Dana. I don't know why I just said that, but kind of way I felt for a minute. But some NFL news has happened this week, and I need to get your thoughts on it. And guys, like I said, we're not going to go too far with NFL. It's one of those things where we're going to have the conversation. We're going to get it in. We're going to get it out. The morning show's been covering NFL a lot this week, but there's too much information not to be talked about. I'm going to start with the one that hits a little bit home to my heart. Darius Slay was released as a Philadelphia Eagle. I would love opinions, thoughts, what you guys think. I mean, he's not ruled out coming back.
Bill, I'll let you go first. It's your squad.
I mean, I watched his part of his podcast today. I mean, I don't think there's any ill will, bad blood, bad feelings, or anything like that. He's been around for a long time. He understands the business. He understands, the financial side of it, how he's doing. He even said towards the end of it, don't count out him coming back. I think if they can make something work for him that financially makes sense, to put your body through the ringer for one more year and play on obviously a team that will be one of the favorites to get back to the Super Bowl again and possibly finish his career, that type of way. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Slay's back on his team next year. Captain, leader, very big locker room guy. Been a very vocal and outspoken, guy in supporting his teammates. The whole organization. When stuff went wrong, he loves it here. His wife loves it here. I think once Howie gets everything done that he needs to get done, I think they'll sit down. And unless somebody offers him, some kind of crazy money and it's a team that is on the doorstep of contending, anything short of that happening, I think there's a decent chance he's back here next year.
Need to get Jennifer Slay in the comments, right? You gave a Jennifer Slay reference. Yep. I'm going to tag her right now. Jennifer Slay is awesome. Jen Williams, 23 on Twitter. Follow her. She's good people. But look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of different things that go into this move for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not just, and you've seen it, right? I kind of brought the Slay thing up to kind of bring into what I'm about to say. Saquon Barkley got paid. They overpaid Saquon Barkley. Not overpaid, but they basically paid him when they didn't need to. And they showed the whole world how they'll take care of guys that will help them win the Super Bowl. I love that concept. I love what they did with Saquon Barkley. Brought back Zach Bond, $17 million a year. You're talking about a practice squad player. Changed his life last year in Vic Fangio's scheme. He probably signed for a discount too. You all-pro linebacker in football, you can make more than $17 million a year. He didn't want to go in the open market. He wanted to stay in Philadelphia. I'll tell you right now, I'll call it right now, Mekhi Becton will be back. Mekhi Becton will be back on a team-friendly deal because Jeff Stoutland changed that man's career. Think about it this way. What the Eagles are doing, and even when the guys that are leaving, right? How often do you see a guy get cut in the NFL and then the response is, well, yeah, you know, they want to pay everybody else. They're not going to pay me, or they have issues with A, B, and C. But the Philadelphia Eagles, even Darius Slay leaving was just like, I get it. It's a business. I hope I get to come back. Obviously, he could have felt some sort of way about them paying Saquon, extending Saquon this year. He could have felt some sort of way about that. They gave him $20 million a year at the running back position. They didn't have to do all that, but they did. And I think the organization is moving in. I also think they have a plethora of young talent at the cornerback position, right? You just draft your Quinyon Mitchell starting CB1. You got Cooper DeJean, who had one of the biggest plays in the Super Bowl, a great nickel corner. Keely Ringo, you drafted a couple years ago. He's played well. Isaiah Rodgers, who's not back yet, but is rumored to be back, he played well. You have a plethora of talent at the cornerback position. Darius Slay was a luxury. James Bradbury out the door. I love what Philadelphia is doing. No issues.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I mean, I think the way Howie is drafted over the years, you have the depth at corner to where you don't necessarily need to worry about bringing back a guy like Slay. I shouldn't say not worry about it, but I mean, again, at the end of the day, you both have already said it. It is a business. And if we're looking at things from a holistic standpoint, Darius brings a lot of great things to locker room, great leadership, and he was a great player for a really long time with the Eagles. But we're being honest, you can see it year after year at this point. He's had a decline in play, and that's not even a slight to him. He's still better than a large majority of corners in the league, but just to his standard of, you know, being locked down, taking away one whole side of the field and things like that, he's just not that guy anymore. So I think the Eagles are in a good spot. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense unless you can get him on a great contract to bring him back, just because you have so many guys that can go in and I'm not going to say do the exact same job as him, but do it well enough to the point where you don't have like a serious drop off in production where you notice the defense, you know, performing a lot worse than where it was Slay out there. So to me, just talking about Slay, I mean, he already said that he only envisioned, you know, potentially retiring this year or, you know, playing one more year. That was, you know, a couple months ago, like before the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, to me, I think it's a thing for Slay. He's either going to figure out a way to sign a 1-year deal and go play for the Lions, or he's going to come back to Philadelphia and ride out the year and, you know, finish his career as an Eagle. Like, I think those are the only two teams that are seriously in play for Darius Slay. Because at this point, I don't think he's chasing the money. He's not chasing the accolades. I think he just wants to go somewhere where he feels wanted, where he feels like it's home, and he can go out and actually play football. I don't think he'd come back to, you know, be a reserve or be a backup. I just think that he wants to go somewhere where he can play football and feel like he's still at home.
I want to address what Carmike Camden said. My man Carmike. He said, too early to let them young boys fly, in my opinion. Second year people break down coverages and how people play. We shall see how the youngins hold up. Look, Carmike, I hear you, right? I do. I absolutely hear you. Let me say this. You can't pay everyone. And if you continue paying Slay, you might not have been able to bring back Bond. And if you continue paying Slay, you might have to fill a hole at right guard with Mekhi Becton, or a role at defensive end or defensive tackle with Josh Sweat and Milt Williams. You cannot pay everyone. Darius Slay is a cap casualty. Unfortunately, I hope to see him back in green, but if he's not, I understand why.
I told you guys a couple weeks ago that I thought Bond will be back. And I thought that Mekhi Becton would be back. But Milton Williams, I'm telling you, I think his number is going to surprise a ton of people with how much money he gets on the open market. Like, I truly think he's going to be the one guy we look at it like they pay what for who? I mean, obviously, we know he's a good player, but I think that's going to be the one that shocks a lot of people once free agency opens up.
And you probably are right the more and more I looked at it. But there's something I want to bring up about Milton Williams. Is he going to get Christian Wilkins money? And like Christian Wilkins was much more of a dominant player. Is he going to get 5 years, 90? Like, do you think he'll get more than that? Like, that's a big contract.
I said Hargrave. I think he's going to be in the Hargrave boat where, you see 4 for, I forgot what the exact number was with Hargrave. I think 82 maybe when he left to go to San Francisco. But I think he's going to get somewhere in that ballpark.
I don't think he gets that much.
4-year 81. That's really good off the top of your head. 4 years 81 is what Hargrave got.
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere around there. It may not be the same length of deal, but I could see it being a 3-year 60, or I can honestly see it being a 4-year like 75, 78. Like, I think it's in that ballpark for sure, though.
All right, well, I guess we'll find out. Other news in free agency, not with the Philadelphia Eagles, because obviously Philadelphia Eagles are near and dear. We got to talk about the world champions first. That's what we have to do. Other news in free agency is Max Crosby has made the highest paid non-quarterback. The Raiders re-signed him at a very high rate. Seattle Seahawks star DK Metcalf requests a trade. And the Cowboys reworked Dak Prescott's contract, adding $36.6 million to the cap. Out of those 3 moves, any surprise you, any you like, any you dislike? I think the move in Las Vegas to make Max Crosby the highest paid player is a culture move for Pete Carroll. I don't disagree with that move at all, especially you have the money.
I agree with you there. You have the money. He's been there. He's got to be part of the rebuild. Defensive ends like him do not grow on trees. You lock him up now, and you start building a team in other areas now. You don't have to worry about him. That gives you a 3-year window with him, still in his prime. I think it's a great move for the Raiders. The Dak thing, we knew it was going to have – there was going to have to be something one way or the other there, because that contract just couldn't stay the way it was with the guys. They still have to re-sign and hope to bring back, and then still have money for free agency to plug holes they have all over their roster right now. So that's not too surprising. DK for me was pretty surprising, just because I feel like there was no, we've heard the Debo rumblings before. Like, there was really never any rumblings about him being unhappy there or wanting to get out of there. So for him to have 2 meetings this week with the team and then be like, you know what, best case for me is to get traded and get out of here. That for me was a surprising one.
See, I don't think the DK one was too surprising, because before he requested the trade, it sounds like the Seahawks were already open to hearing offers and seeing what they could get for him. A lot of the rumors before the Commanders ultimately traded for Debo was that the Seahawks wanted to get the Commanders' first-round pick to send DK over to Washington. So, I think he probably saw that, and just kind of seeing how Jackson Smith and Jigba really took over the receiver 1 role in Seattle. And the fact that they didn't win. So it's like, all right, I'm not getting the ball as much as I did before, and we're not winning. I kind of think that was a writing on the wall kind of move there. And we know, just seeing how DK is on the field, we know he's not all the way there in the head either. So, he's, very high temperament kind of player there, and definitely one of those guys that has a ton of emotions there. So I think you look at it for me that he has to go somewhere where he's a true number 1, where he feels wanted. And I think he also wants to win. So I look at it like, Buffalo tried it last year, trying to go get Amari Cooper and making that work with Josh Allen. Obviously that was a dud, didn't work out. Why not try and go get DK, pair him up, get Josh a true number 1? They haven't found it. The receiver by committee, it worked out well for him last year, but at some point, you got to have a guy there.
$60 million.
I know. Hey, if you want somebody, you find. Look at what Dallas literally just did. If you want players on your roster, you can move money around. Like that can happen.
I get it. I just don't think they had the money there in Buffalo. And not to mention, I don't know. I think that Josh Allen is receiver proof. I think he actually works better when he has like a plethora of mid-grade receivers and he doesn't have to look towards someone. I think he looks better. I actually think that when he was trying to force the ball to Diggs, he looked worse.
I don't disagree with you with the sentiment there, but I look at it like this. If the Bills had beat the Chiefs, like let's say, they get the first down, convert, and it's not even just saying like how great the Eagles are. But you throw that team out there against the Philadelphia Eagles, they play man coverage all day, and everybody gets locked down all day long. Only the person you're really worried about stopping is James Cook on that offense. I'm just saying, I think you kind of even saw it with the Chiefs. Like, that offense at a point gets limited once you get deeper into the thick of the playoffs.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The last thing I want to talk about, and I kind of wanted to do a quick thing with Geno Smith because Tyler Lockett got released. DK Metcalf asked for a trade, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is becoming the number one receiver over there. Why we're here, I just do this quickly. I did this earlier on a TikTok live. I would love to hear your opinions. Only 4 names. It's nothing crazy. I just want to see where you have Geno Smith, right? I'm going to play a quick game of Geno Smith, or because I think that it'll give people an explanation of where he's at. I have him 15 through 20 and closer to 20 than I do 15, but that's just kind of where I have him. I'd love to see where you guys have him. So let's talk about that real quick. Geno Smith or Kyler Murray?
I'm taking Kyler.
So I am too. Okay. Geno Smith or the current version of Tua Tagovailoa?
Healthy?
Well, I mean, you can't say healthy.
I
mean, franchise 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Geno Smith or Tua?
I'd roll the dice on Tua, I guess.
Same.
I'm going Geno. I think Tua is too much of a risk, and I think if they swapped positions, I think Miami's in a better spot. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle with Geno Smith just feels better to me. Just giving my opinion. Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield?
Baker.
I asked that one just for control. I just wanted to see how deep the blood runs. Do you know what I mean? And then the last one on this list is Geno Smith or free agent quarterback Sam Darnold.
Geno.
See how quick you said that? I don't think the market would say that. That's interesting how quick you said that.
I mean, I look at it like this, like, and it's no disrespect to Sam, because I always thought Sam had the arm talent. Like, I just thought he needed to go to the right situation coming out. He was a turnover machine in college. Obviously, with the Jets, he was a turnover machine too. I think when you go to a guy like Kevin O'Connell, like in that system, like we've seen people come from, the Shanahan, McVay tree that are quarterback whisperers. I think if you give Geno Smith a QB coach or a QB whisperer like that, I mean, he's going to have success too. So it's not to take away necessarily from Sam Darnold, but if I can get Kevin O'Connell as my coach, I'm taking Geno Smith over Sam Darnold.
I see. Where do you stand, Shally? Geno Smith or Sam Darnold?
It makes it tough because you've kind of seen like what Darnold can really be now. But like I'm not at the same time, I'm not giving Geno. I mean, Geno's had loaded offenses and just still hasn't gotten it done. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Geno. Like Geno's almost in the same category as Dak for me. I'm just tired of hearing the excuses. I mean, you've had receiver after receiver after receiver, running backs, everything. Like you can't win more than 8 or 9 games a year. So I would roll the dice.
The playoffs 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
Okay, so they made one playoff in what, 5 years that he's been there? 4 years?
He hasn't been the starter the whole time. I mean,
he's been a starter for the last 3 years. He's been there 5 years. We're playing semantics. He's been there 5 years, been a starter for 3. Here's the stats I'll give you to back up. Geno Smith's 3 years as a starter: 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And this past year, he threw for 4,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Sam Darnold this past year, 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, which would be 5 higher than a career high for Geno Smith, and 12 interceptions. So, but now, to be fair, Sam Darnold's other 4 years as a starter are absolutely abysmal.
Yeah. I would roll the dice on Darnold.
I think I'd go Geno, but I wouldn't have went as quick as Cottrell. Cottrell said that shit like he was ready. Like, I have a list and this is where he's at.
Sam Darnold is in my bottom third of quarterbacks. He's probably at the top of that bottom third, but he's in my bottom third.
It's fair.
I mean, it's about where Geno is for me. So
feel like Geno won't lose you any games, but he won't go win you any either. Can you really give Darnold credit if he had the best receiver? Of course you can. Yeah, I listen, I know Jettas is a great receiver, but like I've seen a lot of quarterbacks fail with good number one receivers, just to be clear. And then last but not least, we got to talk about the Debo trade. A 5th-round draft pick for Debo Samuel. I sent you guys the little TikTok earlier of the 49ers trying to sell Debo's value. A 1st-round pick, cricket. 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. Like, I think that this is a fun equation to talk about. A 5th-round pick for Debo Samuel. The Niners ate a bunch of dead cap. However, the 49ers took over the full salary cap. So I guess I think the Commanders could easily absorb the full salary cap. But to get him for only a 5th-round pick and to have him out there as opposed to De'Ami Brown, I think that's the move for the Commander. I think it's a good move for them, right? I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to be good. I said this on a couple shows earlier this week, and I really feel it. I feel like Debo Samuel's becoming what Cordero Patterson is, like a better version of him, a power back that can get you in the screen game. You can use him in gadgets. You can get in the ball in his hands. He is an awful route runner. He might be the worst route runner in football. Like, I mean that when I say that. Him and DK Metcalf can compete about who's a worse route runner, but Debo over in Washington is a good fit, especially when you have a guy like Terry McLaurin that you need to put a safety on top, that opens the drags, that opens the slants, that opens those low crossing routes that Debo Samuel is going to help you with the run after catch. Your thoughts on the move for both teams?
I think it was a move that made a ton of sense for both teams, if I'm being honest. I mean, I look at it like this with the Commanders. You talk about De'Ami Brown, like you keep getting on his case here. I get it; he's not a number 2 receiver, but he actually had a strong little showing there towards the back half of the year. So I think if you can bring him back, like with you bringing him back, bringing Debo in as number 2 receiver, that's going to open up a ton for that team. Terry McLaurin had a career year last year. Obviously, him and Jaden had a great connection there. But I think bringing in a guy like Debo, especially if you can get, and I know we're not going to get the, crazy Debo from 2021. Like, that's not happening. That's a pipe dream for any Commanders fans out there that's trying to be optimistic. But I think Debo has already addressed that he was overweight last year, the injuries, just the inconsistencies with himself, like on the field there. Said it was 225 last year. And for a guy of Debo's size, like, you can't be 225 and be active. He couldn't catch anything. He complained in the media about, not getting the ball, then couldn't catch anything. So he was just mentally all messed up there. One thing you got to remember about Debo is that this is only his 5th year in the league at this point, or 6th year in the league. So, I mean, he still has, he's still like young and he still has room to grow there. He's right in the thick of his prime. So, I mean, I think this is a good move for Washington to go get, a second fiddle for Terry McLaurin. But for the 49ers, this move was absolutely imperative because 2 things. One, if you want to pay Brock Purdy, you have additional money, so now you can do it. Or if you want to get rid of Brock Purdy, you can bring in either a free agent quarterback next year, or you bring in a rookie and you have a lot more money to spend in terms of like building around that rookie. So I thought it's a good move for both parties there, and I definitely understand why both parties made the move.
I want to address quickly with William Joseph said, Bond get overpaid. Sorry if you just covered it. Bro, I appreciate you always tuning in. You always share us out. So I'd love to give you my sentiments. I don't think he got overpaid. I think he took a team-friendly deal, $17 million a year for an all-pro middle linebacker. I don't think it's overpaid. What I do think is, I'll put it this way, right? He could have signed for $19 million, $20 million somewhere else and would not have had a successful career as he will have in Vic Fangio's system when he fits like a glove. I think it's a fit that's made for both teams. I just wanted to answer that real quick because William Joseph helps us out a ton. And then, Shao, your thoughts on Debo?
I agree with Cottrell. I think it's a big win on both sides. I think San Francisco unloads them, gets rid of the money, gets rid of the headache, the bitching, everything else. Like Cottrell said, you move on, either get ready to re-sign Purdy or, you have options to do, go the quarterback route, and then you have money to put, go get weapons instantly and put stuff around him and kind of redo what you did with Purdy. And for Washington, I think it's a really good move for Washington. I was a little, I wasn't happy when I heard that's where he was going. I'll put it that way. Like you said, Terry McLaurin is a guy that is just consistent, puts up numbers year in, year out, no matter who they throw behind center. They finally have a franchise guy there, and what we think anyway with Jaden Daniels, who had a great year. I think guys will, DCs will definitely adjust to him a little bit next year. A lot of tape on him now. But now you got them another weapon and another guy they can, another guy that you have to game plan for, another guy that you can put wrinkles in with. So, just another layer of an offense to game plan with and have fun with. So I truly do think it's one of those trades where it's definitely a pretty solid win for both sides.
I don't know if it's confirmed either, Bertani, so I'd rather not discuss on that yet. I haven't seen any confirming reports. I don't think you can sign anyone yet, so just wanted to. But it'd be interesting if he did go there. I will say this for the 49ers standpoint, Shally. They have Juwan Jennings. They just drafted a wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall. Juwan Jennings played great last year. He actually outplayed Deebo Samuel, in my opinion. You get Ayuk back next year, so you have Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall. I don't think they're going to be hurting at the wide receiver realm, and especially, and we all knew the 49ers would say, and they have Kittle, yeah. We all knew the 49ers would have to make decisions. We all knew that, right? We all knew that eventually when they had to pay Purdy. So they got to pay him now. And if they don't pay him now, they got to figure out who else they're going to pay. I said this on a show earlier, and I'll say it again. I don't know, man. I think the 49ers go out and draft a quarterback. Like, go out and draft a quarterback and not pay Brock Purdy and do the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't know. I don't believe in it. It's fool's gold.
I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, I definitely can see that happening because at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan keeps landing. I shouldn't say keep landing because it's really only been 2, but you keep having these quarterbacks that won't lose you games, but won't go win you a game either. So, I think they try to go in, reset, get the quarterback on the rookie deal. So I'm with you on that.
I do want to, last thing before we move off NFL, I just want to shout out the Bears for actually doing what they should be doing and figuring out ways to protect Caleb Williams. They signed 2 offensive linemen already. Traded for Joe Thuney and re-signed an offensive lineman. But I'll make it very clear. Ben Johnson is going to build that offense the way he built Detroit's offense. It'll be built through the offensive line. And when you can control the line of scrimmage, a lot of things change. So I'm interested to see what happens when Caleb gets some real protection this offseason.
I'd be shocked at this point now. I had already basically made up in my mind that Ashton Genty was going to be a Cowboy. At this point in time, I would be shocked if Ashton Genty is not a Bear by, the first night of the NFL draft.
Okay. I still think he's a Cowboy.
I just can't believe going running back that early in this draft with the depth of the running back class this year.
I'm just thinking you talk about building the team like the Lions, and obviously it's not going to be picture perfect. And I'm not even saying Genty's the caliber or the same kind of running back as Jahmyr Gibbs, but you see how much they valued the position there. You see how much Ben Johnson values the offensive line. I think he wants to get the playmaker, and if you want to get a playmaker, why not get the best one in the draft?
But see, that would be my argument. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. But
we all looked at Jahmyr Gibbs sideways, like when they picked him. I thought he was good talent, but
talent, we thought he was overdrafted, but even is, and I love Genty. He's not that type of back. Like he's not going to be like, you look how Ben Johnson used Jahmyr Gibbs. He can't use Genty that way. They're not the same type of back.
Are you saying that Jahmyr Gibbs is a better prospect than Genty is?
I'm saying for what Ben Johnson, if you're saying we're drafting Genty to fill the Jahmyr Gibbs role, I'm saying that's a mistake because they're not the same kind of running back. That's what I'm saying.
That makes sense. I just think Genty is a better prospect. I'm not saying he'll be better in the league because he's not going to be playing behind the best offensive line in football or the second best offensive line in football, depending on how you look at it with Detroit. But I think Genty is a better prospect than Gibbs was. Just my opinion. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. 30 minutes in, we're done NFL. I'm ready for some baseball talk, boys. I'm ready for some MLB first baseman list. I'm ready for my list. First base, baby. It's my corner.
Well, just like last week, we posted this on the page. Just wanted to get quick reactions from what you guys you guys see here before we go right into our top 5?
I want to know, and listen, I get it. He's very good defensively. I said this before the show. I think I know the answer already. Christian Walker's in Shalley's top 5. He's not on my. He's number 10 on my list. I think our value of a first baseman is just totally different, and I get that, and I understand that. But there's one position on the football field that I feel not football field on the diamond that I feel like is. I don't want to say defense matters the least, but it's left field and first base. Like they're the positions on the baseball field where you kind of hide your worst defender. I don't put as much stock in defense as Shalley does in this position, or Cottrell obviously has him 6. And you have Goldie on your list. I'd love to hear the thoughts on that. I mean, he looked like a train wreck at the end of last year.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, being in, we talk about the Yankee Stadium all the time. You people called it Little League Field or just calling it a cheat code, things like that. I mean, I just think being there in New York in that lineup, it's going to be hard not to produce. And I mean, I don't even think, obviously Goldie had a down year for his standards, but as a whole, like, I think if you can be better than what you were last year, there's no way you're not. And it's not even like a drastic difference from last year. If you can just hit home runs how we know you can, especially in that ballpark, I think his numbers at the end of the year are going to be undeniable. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he hit 35 home runs in New York. Like that's what kind of season I can see him having just playing in that ballpark.
I also think Salvador plays more games at first than he does at catcher. Obviously, I said that on the last show. That's why I have him number 8.
Luis Reyes is an interesting one. I mean, I think obviously, you're projecting him to play, a ton of games at first there, which is, I know he split a lot of time last year with Cronenworth. But he's always the interesting one when these lists roll around because he's going to bat 350 every year or better. But just kind of figuring out how you value that with all the power guys and obviously defense as well.
Well, I mean, he's projected to be their starting first baseman. That's it. And he's going to lead off a top of the lineup in which he's going to bat 350 or 330 or 320 every year. So you're going to bat yourself at the top of a really good lineup. He's going to do what he needs to do and get on base. I don't want to penalize him for that. So that's why I have him where I have him.
Oh, no, I'm not. I understand why you have him on the list. I was just saying, like, he's the one where it's like, again, depending on what you value at the position.
Let's get in the top 5, boys. Unless somebody wants to make fun of my list. I don't know.
I mean, I think Tristan Cass not being on your list is the huge thing that jumps out to me.
Why? Yeah, why? The guy played 60 games last year. He had 13 home runs. He batted 240. The year before, he played 132 games. He batted 263 and 24 home runs. He's a young kid. You're projecting him to be a top 10, but he's never been a top 10 first baseman.
I mean, I would argue that that's because he's just now getting into the prime of his career.
That's fair. You're projecting that, though, right?
No,
and I think that's fair.
For sure. I mean, and then the one thing with Bill's list, Wilson Contreras being there kind of surprised me a bit because I looked at him and I was like, all right, well, Wilson Contreras is, for me, probably closer to like 13, 14. So just wanted to hear your thoughts about how you expect Wilson to perform in St. Louis.
I mean, his batting numbers are going to be fine. He's going to be a guy that is playing there for it'll be his first really full year, but he's going to be way more comfortable there. I don't think he's going to be the disaster that he was defensively last year. And he's a guy that always hits. He's hit everywhere he's gone. So I think, again, I think he settles in. I don't think it's the mental anguish and the stress of having to play first base. I think he's more comfortable there. I think he has a better year.
That's fair point. Let's get our top 5, boys.
Top 5, here it is. Number 5 for me, Polar Bear, Pete Alonso. Pete's always in my top 5. Every year we do this, Pete's always going to be there. And Pete just got paid. He's coming off a year where he had 34 home runs last year. And I mean that Mets team is going to be really good. You got the lineup where you're adding Juan Soto to it. I think Pete's just going to be consistent there. You know he's going to hit you 30 home runs every year. You know he's going to drive in a ton of runs there. I mean, I think Pete's consistency mixed with just how good that Mets lineup is, I think he's going to be a cornerstone in it. So I expect Pete to have, just another one of his years where he's right in the thick of it. As far as, the home runs, leading the team in home runs, things like that. So that's why for me, he's coming in number 5.
Number 5, I got Christian Walker going to Houston. I think his numbers rebound a little bit this year. Had another off year last year. Still ended up with 84 RBIs, 26 or 7 home runs. Best defensive first baseman in baseball. And again, I think going to Houston, he's going to a better situation, better lineup. I think his numbers will improve. So, and he's still going to play defense like nobody's business. So I have him rounding out my top 5.
I wish he was a right-handed bat, right? I don't know, just being sarcastic. But Pete Alonso, I have number 5 also, and I think the one thing that you have to look at when you look at Pete Alonso is he's adding Juan Soto to that lineup. So you're going to be adding an on-base percentage in that lineup that is going to be there for you a ton. So the projected Mets lineup, and I looked at it when I made this list, was you're going to run into Soto batting 3 and Pete Alonso batting. Soto batting 2 and Pete Alonso batting 3. So like when you look at that lineup, you got Frankie, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and then Brandon Nimmo. And Nimmo has been an on-base machine also. So I think Pete Alonso sees a lot of pitches. I think he got paid. I think he's coming off a momentum-based year. So I'll go Pete Alonso, number 5. And I think we all agree on number 4. It looks like we all have the same number 4. We all think Matt Olson has somewhat of a bounce-back year, right? Coming off the year where he absolutely crushed it a couple years ago, last year was definitely a down year for Matt Olson. But the talent's there, right? The guy had 54 home runs 2 years ago. He's absolutely a stud, very good defensive first baseman, but the guy can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And for that reason, I'm going to trust the Braves to bounce back this year. I'm going to trust Matt Olson to still finish as a top 4 first baseman.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think Matt Olson is the one guy on this list that probably could ruin everybody's list in that if he has another outburst like Gene was just talking about, he can go hit 55 home runs, drive in 130 RBIs, play very, very, very good defense at first base. He's a guy that could be the egg on the face of anybody on this list, in my opinion. He's going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back at the top of that lineup. Michael Harris, all those guys, they should be healthy this year. A lot of them were hurt, missed a bunch of time last year or were banged up. He's going to come up with a lot of people on base. I think Austin Riley behind him is going to have a bounce back year as well. So Matt Olson, I think, has the potential to kind of be the list wrecker here, but I still have him number 4. But the guy can go off at any given time. So I have a number 4. He could be anywhere. I really wouldn't have argued if you put him anywhere above, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, I got Matt Olson here at 4 as well. I feel like 4 was just kind of like the safe spot to put him. 3 guys you have ahead of him, obviously with the consistency and all that, like with the years they were coming off of last year as well. It's kind of tough for me to move Matt Olson up any higher than that, but I do expect him to have the bounce back year. I feel like last year was just a weird year in Atlanta as a whole, and Matt Olson was kind of just one of those casualties as a part of it. So I expect the bounce back. And I think he's, gonna earn his way on this list here. Number 3 for me was probably, we say it every week. There's always one that's the hardest name to put on your list here. For me, that was Freddie Freeman. The reason being is that all 3 of these dudes are next level and are gonna have a say for the NL MVP, when it's all said and done. They're gonna be in the thick of it there with everybody. And for me, Freddie Freeman. The only reason why I had him at 3 is that I think the other 2 are just better at this point. Freddie took a little bit of a dip as far as his batting average goes. Nothing that really concerns you, especially how great he played in the World Series. But I just think the other 2 are, either ascending or just coasting at that elite level. And in the case of Freddie Freeman, where I just think the other 2 have just at this point surpassed him, but no knock on him. Freddie is still, one of the best in the game there. That's why I got him at 3.
I'm going to echo a lot of what Cottrell said. The age thing is starting to factor into this a little bit. I think Freddie's 33 or 34. Bryce just turned 30, I believe, and Vlad, you could argue, is debatably not really even in, the thick of his prime of his career yet. A tiny step backwards and a tiny step is, for a guy like Freddie Freeman, not a lot at all for the way he produces, the way he hits, the way he plays field, and obviously the type of leader he is on that team as well. So I love Freddie Freeman. He has absolutely become one of my favorite non-Philadelphia athletes. I just love the way the guy goes about his business and the way he handles it and the way he plays baseball. Love everything about him. I just think the two guys ahead of him, like I said, are still kind of ascending. I don't think Freddie's on the downward, kind of part of his career or anything like that. I just think he's at the plateau, though. I think he's at the top. He's chilling. He's winning rings. I think the depth that the Dodgers team has this year, I also think if him having to play banged up a little bit, something like that, I think they're gonna have the luxury of like, you know what, you can take a week off. He's still gonna be hitting behind Mookie and Shohei, and that is a blessing and a disguise at the same time, depending on how it all works out. I think he'll still put up incredible numbers. The Dodgers are going to be insane. But I just the slight tick backwards for me. And I think the other two guys I have ahead of him are going to take a slight tick up. Lands him on number 3 on my list.
It's funny because Vlad Guerrero Jr., you talking about a guy that the last 100 games of 2024 was by far the best player in baseball, like statistically. Like he was on an absolute tear the last 100 games. He ended up finishing the season batting .323, but the only issue with that is, and this not me knocking Vlad, I love Vlad. The only issue with that is the Blue Jays were already out of it. And like he was going 4 for 5 in losses when in the beginning of the season he did not have the greatest start. Now, granted, he bounced back incredibly. He was last 100 games, best player in baseball. But I don't know about Vlad. Like Vlad is one of those guys where does he come in overweight? Does he come in good shape? I don't know. I think he's an incredible hitter. I don't know what's going to happen in Toronto. I think the contract that he's already negotiating with Toronto will play heavy on him. I think 3 is fine, right? Because Freddie is going to play in that Dodgers lineup, and he's in the middle of that Dodgers lineup with Shohei, with Mookie, with all these guys. And it just, I feel like it's safer, right, to have Freddie 2. So I'll have Vlad 3, Freddie 2, but I won't hate you if you have Vlad 2, 1, probably not 4, but I think 3 is the bottom for him to be at, and I love him. I mean, I think 2 years ago I had him number 1. So all things said and done, I'll go Vlad and then Freddie, and I think Freddie is just a little bit more of a consistency thing. I know he's going to show up. I know he's going to be a professional. I watched the way he just played in the World Series. You have Shohei Ohtani. You have all these guys in that situation. Let me go Vlad and then Freddie.
Yeah, so for me, for number 2, I have Vlad, and it's kind of one of the reasons Gene just said. I don't think Freddie has that. Vlad's ceiling is higher than Freddie's is what it is right now. Like Gene using his own words. Vlad was the best player in baseball for last 90, 95 games last year. I don't think Freddie has that run in him, like he has in the past. The Blue Jays have decided that Vlad is going to hopefully going to be the guy that they build around for the next 10 years. They have the contract thing up in the air. That does worry me a little bit, but they've pretty much gotten rid of the rest of that young cast that they thought were going to come in and kind of change that franchise. Vlad was the guy they decided to keep, which I think is the right decision. So a lot of people in here saying being traded. We'll see. Like I said, the contract thing I think does loom kind of large over his head. I'll be very curious to see how he handles it. You always have the thing. If you're going to be a free agent and you're a little bit banged up, do you make the business decision and sit out more than you should? That stuff all factors in. It's just a risk of having it. But his ceiling to me is too high that if he does come in, like Gene said, if he comes in shape and he is focused and he knows he's playing for $400-500 million, which is where he's going to be next year. If he has a season like that and he stays locked in, then he's going to put up silly numbers. So again, his peak for me is what pushed him over Freddie into number 2 for me.
Bro, if I asked you a question, right? Matt Olson and Vlad Guerrero, and I just want to ask you this question. And I'm not trying to be rude when I say this to Vlad, because you know I'm not the most in shape human being on the planet. So it's not my job to be in shape. But how tall do you think Matt Olson is?
I want to say he's like 6'2", 6'3".
6'5".
Okay.
How much do you think he weighs?
I mean, he's a big boy, but he's in shape. So I'll say 6. He's 6'5".
Yep.
He's probably like 230.
He's 2 1/4, 225.
Okay.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. How tall do you think he is?
I think he's shorter than I always think he is. I think he's like 6'1". Yeah.
6'2".
Okay.
How much do you think he weighs?
He like
260,
60, 65.
And the funny part of that is he's listed at 245, and no one believes him.
Nah, he ain't too far.
They call him. They might have caught him butt naked on the right day.
I don't believe he's 245 at all.
I think he took a foot off the scale. Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole thing. It's like, I mean, it's the whole thing with like, you know this, like AI was always listed at like 6 foot, 6'1". And then you go see him play like in person, you're like,
No,
dude might be 5'10". Like so. Listen, I mean, I'll say this though. I mean, Vlad's a big boy though, so I mean, it's he's strong as hell too. So, maybe they weighed him when he was in really really good shape. I don't know. I don't think they're weighing him in the middle of the season. After he's eating junk for 4 months, but he's not 300 pounds. Stop it.
I don't think
that's like Prince Fielder shit.
Bro, there's some pictures of Vlad, say, like, oh shit.
Yeah. It's funny too. I mean, if you look at his dad was like a scarecrow, but I'd say he's comfortably walking around between like 250 and 260 all year long.
Yeah.
Anything under that, I need to see proof.
And that's my whole thing, right? It's not against, like, I'm not trying to do that to him, but like he started the season off like, dude, for the way he finished the year and finished at 323, bro. I'm telling you right now, I'll bet you if you look at his first 100 game stats, he's probably batting 280. Like his power numbers were down, and then he like turned it on. But whatever, I don't want to go too far into this.
You just fat shame Vlad Guerrero Jr.
I'm fat. I can fat shame Vlad.
It's not how that works.
That's exactly how it works. Yeah, I think Sherrill's up for number 2.
Yeah, so number 2 for me, I'll be the outlier here. I got Bryce Harper at 2. And again, no fault of Bryce's. I think Bryce is, like I said about Freddie, said the same thing about Bryce. Bryce is going to be in the thick of it for the NL MVP. You know what you're getting with him. He wakes up anytime a season start, as long as he stays healthy, you're getting at least 30 home runs out of him, and he's going to be around the 300 average. I think Bryce is absolutely incredible. It just so happens, though, that this year you got the 25-year-old kid in Toronto that is looking for a new contract. And in the words of Lil Wayne, the money is the motive. And I think, for Vlad Jr. in this case, you have the ability, like you guys already mentioned, to make $400-500 million. And he's already turned down Toronto's offers. So, and he said he's going to be a free agent. So unless a team, can trade for him and, sign him, essentially just agree in principle, like to a deal, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be out in the open market next year. And you talk about, taking games off, making business decisions. If I'm Vlad Jr. and I know I have these just things said about me, about me being overweight or me not taking the game serious or me going off to a slow start, I'm trying to put all that shit to bed before I hit the open market. 26 years old. I'm going to try and sign a, 12, 13. I want to try and sign a deal that's going to take care of me for the rest of my career. So if there's any year where you want to be super serious, it's going to be this year for Vlad. And I think at 25, he knows that. And I also think that's the reason why he's like, he just balked at all of Toronto's offers. So wouldn't be surprised if we see another 320, 330 kind of year from Vlad. But I think those home run numbers go back up. Year that, he had the monster year with 40 plus home runs. I think we see that Vlad, and that's what I'm projecting here, and that's why I have him as number one on my list.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Bryce. I think if he doesn't win it, I think he's top 2 or 3 in MVP. He's over a full year removed from surgery on his elbow. He's not even wearing the brace anymore. The swing already to me looks more fluid, looks a little bit quicker. Looks like he trusts it. I think he's gonna have a huge year. I think this is kind of, I don't want to say put up or shut up, but this is an important year for Phillies and what they're going to do going forward with certain people. So kind of with this core they have and this window that they're in, I think they have a very good year, not to get into predictions and other things, but won another Silver Slugger again last year at first base, which again is over Freddie and a bunch of other guys in the National League at that position. I think we have kind of 310, 315, upper 30 home runs, 120 RBI type season for Bryce. I think this could end up being his career year. Just a gut feeling for me, not being, a homer or anything like that. I think he's fully healthy. I think you see a different Bryce Harper this year. And that's why I have number one.
I think the Phillies have one of two things this year to happen. One, and this happens with any team that's high expectations, that makes no moves in the offseason, that kind of goes under the radar. This is exactly what the Phillies did this year. They've really done nothing this offseason. They've brought in a fifth starter who, by the way, is throwing about 98 miles an hour, and Jesus Luzardo. I hope that he can stay healthy. We'll see. But they brought in a fifth starter and a couple relievers in which it can kind of help them, but they did nothing with their lineup. They brought in a left fielder. I'm not trying to be that guy, but one of two things is going to happen. The Phillies are either going to take a huge step forward with everybody coming back with a little bit less, I guess you would say, pressure, because they're not projected to be the best team in baseball, or you take a step back. I think that all lies on Trey Turner. And Trey Turner batting 1 and Bryce batting 2 has the potential to be a huge year for Bryce, and I'm hoping Trey Turner returns to his MVP form in which he was. I love the projected lineup. They're going Trey, Bryce, Alec Boehm, Schwarber 4. Then you're going Castellanos and Stott. I love that setup. I wish they would have went to that setup a couple years ago, but let's see how it plays out. For that reason, I have Bryce number 1. I hope Banjo Painter's with the big club ASAP, right? I love the kid. I hope he's pitching for us early, but at the end of the day, I think the Phillies have a big year. And I think that big year is led by the catalyst of the team, Bryce Harper. And Bryce has taken some unfair criticism this offseason. Like they can't win in the playoffs, and Bryce has never won, and we're getting all that stuff. And I don't know if you watched their team play in the postseason the last few years. He's one of the guys that did show up. He's one of the guys that hit home runs in big moments. He's one of the guys, like, he wasn't disappearing act Alec Boehm. He wasn't disappearing act Nick Castellanos. He was there. He was showing up. He was one of the only guys that can check in and lock in for that Phillies team. So let's take a little bit of off the Bryce hate. So I have number 1.
Luzardo got annihilated today, by the way.
I'm not worried about that, bro. It's preseason.
He threw 3 pitches and gave up 6 runs. Gave up back-to-back home runs on 3 pitches. One of them was a grand slam. It was just funny.
So, can you guys help me understand something here?
Sure.
So, I see what the Phillies have done with Bryce Harper. Like, he was an outfielder. You guys moved him first base, trying to preserve his career, keep him at the peak for as long as you can. Right? That's what the idea was behind that, right?
Sure.
The elbow injury kind of forced a lot of that, but keep going.
When you look at, I saw the news that the Angels we're going to talk about outfielders, but it just now that we're here, just kind of made me think about it. I saw the news that Mike Trout is going to be moving to right field to try and take some pressure off of him out in the outfield and try to avoid the injuries. With a guy like that has as crazy of an injury history as he does, but can provide you the bat that he does, why wouldn't you look at moving him to first?
Bryce has had nothing to do with anything. You can't if you're coming off Tommy John, you can't throw the ball.
Correct.
So it's like you don't have the option to put him back in the outfield. The thing with Mike's like Chase Utley.
Alex, I got it from you. You made me look into it.
Mike's like Chase Utley. He plays. He's one of those guys that's almost thick-headed to his detriment. Like he plays in Angel Stadium, which center field is enormous, and he's one of those guys that like if the ball is hit to the right fielder, but it's kind of in the gap, Mike Trout will sprint and back the guy up. That's how he plays. Doesn't matter who the manager is, whoever. That's the way he's taught to play. That's the way he plays. It's all that extra wear and tear. With him, it is sticking him in right field. He won't be involved in the play as much. His arm's really not an issue, but it's saving his legs, and it's all the little crazy stuff like that. That is their hopes with him. Bryce, if Bryce never has the Tommy John issue, I don't think he comes out of right field. He's a better outfielder than Nick Castellanos. So
he just said that he would go back to the outfield if it meant the Phillies could bring in like a Vlad Guerrero Jr., like a star to play first base.
Yeah,
I also think that
Nick's beat.
I think another thing that I think he basically said that I think that's more of the reason, but I think that the thing with Mike, Bryce was never an all-world outfielder. He was a serviceable outfielder that hustled at times, and Mike Trout was an all-world outfielder. So moving him from center to right, you're still getting a very plus defender in what Mike Trout is. I don't think Bryce was ever a plus defender in the outfield. I mean, he can make plays like he was, but he also got caught being over aggressive or taking bad routes to balls plenty of times.
Bryce is above average. Yeah, he was never going to win
a Gold
Glove or anything like that, though. But
I'm just saying, I feel like
underrated arm though.
If you know that Mike, whenever he moves a ton, some bad things start to happen. Again, just give credit to Alex, but Alex made me look into it more. The move to first base, especially after seeing how successful Bryce has been, and you guys talk about the injury there, like that moved him there, but just seeing how it was really not a horrible transition for him, I just something that intrigued me.
Bryce, go back to the outfield.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you have to remember too is though, Bryce when he was really young was a catcher, and then after that, they actually thought he was going to be a third baseman. So he's played infield a big portion of his life. Mike Trout's always been an outfielder like that. Like you bring up the funny thing like in Moneyball, like moving Trout to first base would be like Scott Hatteberg. Like that's what they're going to go through if they move him there. He's obviously he's obviously a freak athlete. Like you figure it out after a while.
Exactly.
But like
figure it out. Mookie the short. You figured out.
Listen, I mean, I get it, dude. I mean, but I don't. I will do both. Pick a machine.
I love that line.
It's one of the best lines in the movies when they're sitting in the living room and he says something about the fans and the first the first base coach goes, yeah, maybe we'll teach one of them to do it. Like it's one of those positions that is a lot harder than it looks, and you kind of like what Gene said earlier. Like I disagree with what Gene said earlier. Like it's an underappreciated position to play.
Okay, so you didn't agree with it, right? So let me ask you a question real quick. If there's two positions on the baseball field that defense mattered the least, right? If you had to rank the importance of defense at every position on the baseball field, you tell me left field and first base wouldn't be the last. It's 8th and 9th or 7th and 8th because pitcher wouldn't count.
It's all relative though. Like
no, they are relative. But if you're saying,
but like I'm saying this, like you're looking you throughout the course of the year, you've had shortstops that are great defensively that can barely hit their way out of a paper bag. But on the flip side of that, like A-Rod wasn't great defensively, but the guy hit 45 home runs. So when you have that, do you put up with the lack of defense? Yeah. So so to your point, yeah, like are you giving me a first baseman that is great defensively but hits 205 and like no power. Okay,
No.
I probably don't want that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you flip it, like if Matt Olson couldn't catch a beach ball, you'd probably still put up with it because of the offensive numbers.
That's
so
my
that,
point.
that part of it's all relative, though.
No, but that's my point. My point is, if you have a shortstop, Charlie, that bats 205, but he's all world and he saves tons of runs, you deal with that. At first base, you don't. That's where your power comes from.
Okay, but then if you have a shortstop that throws the ball all over the goddamn creation, but he kills the ball, what do you need at first base?
I don't disagree with that, but I think you need to move the shortstop to second to give him a little bit shorter throw. That's what I think you need to do.
But then the egos come into play though. You batting 315 and killing the ball. I'm playing shorter. I'm getting traded.
Yeah, and then I need another shortstop, and then I can still have Chuck Knobloch at second base. So it's the same.
All right, we're trivia time, guys. It's 8:01. We're late. So anybody in the chat, I apologize. We're late for trivia.
All right, gents. Gene, you gonna throw up the old score?
Okay, let me do that now. I was trying to turn the comments off, and then you did that to me.
Sorry, you'd be all right. But this week,
comments are off.
We're going to the gridiron, gentlemen. I like going
football,
to the gridiron.
baby.
I like going to the gridiron when I have you two going up against each other. So
I like it.
Little weird one here with the years and everything, but I think you guys are going to do well. Since 2022,
okay,
there have been 22 players franchise tagged. Jeez. Name them.
Okay, that's not too hard. I like that. We're gonna name all 22.
Yeah, I mean, okay. We're gonna go back to the three strikes. I wanted to give you guys a deeper pool here. There's a ton of easy ones I think that are pretty low hanging fruit there. I think you guys will be fine, but we'll go back to the three strikes here since the pool's so big in 20 seconds again, and we'll get it rolling.
Okay. I'll start with an obvious one. I got to go first, right?
Yeah,
I'll start with an obvious one. I'll take Saquon Barkley. He was franchised by the New York Giants.
Absolutely, 2023.
I'll go with the easy one just because it's in the news right now. I'll go with T. Higgins.
T. Higgins, the only guy on this list that has been franchise tagged twice.
You can't use him twice, though? That's what I was about to ask.
No.
Okay.
22 players total.
Okay, so 22 players. Got it.
Yep.
I'll go with New England, Kyle Duggar, just because Kyle constantly brings him up.
So Kyle Duggar, I don't know if we should count this one or not because he technically didn't get franchise tagged. He got the transition tag. So I don't know how you guys are gonna score that one, but it's technically not the franchise. He was not listening to 22.
Then it doesn't count. I think it's bullshit, but it doesn't count.
I mean, a transition tag is different than the franchise. They transition tag them and then sign them to the multi-year deal.
Can I pick someone else, or are we just counting as a strike?
Hey, that's what I said. I put it all out there.
I'll let Shally make the decision.
Don't put on me. This isn't my question. You said no. I'll say this. You said franchise tag, transition tag. They're not the same thing. It's your call, though. If you want to give it to him, give it to him. If not,
Bill said I shouldn't give it. Bill said I shouldn't give it to you.
That's fair. I don't mind.
I'm gonna go. I don't think I vaguely remember this one. I'm going with Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams was franchise tagged in 2022.
I'll take Lamar.
Lamar Jackson was also franchise tagged. He was tagged in 23. $20 seconds, sir.
Pipe down, damn.
Just saying.
It's always like weird people too. I'm pretty sure. I just don't know the year on this. I know Dallas did it, and I remember scratching my head when it happened. We're gonna go with Dalton Schultz. It might have been before 2022, though.
Dalton Schultz was in 2022.
Ooh.
I'll stay in Dallas. Easy one. Tony Pollard.
Damn it.
Tony Pollard, 2023.
I'll go last year. Pretty sure they did. I'll go Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin, 2022.
God damn, bro. You just wrapping up 2022. Give me my favorite whipping boy. And I know he was tagged because he's one of the worst offensive linemen in football. And I laughed when he got tagged and he got traded last year. Give me Cam Robinson.
Cam Robinson.
100%.
2022.
Okay. So there's no way he was. I think he was tagged twice, but
just in 2020. Well, I don't know if he was 2021 or not, but
okay.
Yes, he was tagged twice, 2021 and 2022.
Yeah. I knew that one, 100%.
Did we clear out 2022?
No, you got some more names there.
Gonna go
10 seconds, sir.
That was not 10 seconds. God damn. I'm pretty sure they did before they let him go. I'm going with Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs was tagged in 2023.
Now you kind of got me wrapped up. That was the last one I really knew. Seriously, that was the last one I really knew. Okay. I do know another one. He was tagged by Carolina before he was traded. I'll go Brian Burns.
Ooh,
Brian Burns, 2024.
Yeah, I remember that because, they didn't want to give him an extension, but that's probably the last one I know off the top of my head. I have to really dig.
And then we can throw some hints in here too. And Bill, I
Yeah,
haven't started. We'll throw some hints in after Bill's turn here. Bill, we gave you the little extendo here, so I'll give you 15 seconds now because you had the extra time to think about it.
Oh, I got one. I know.
I'm not sure about this, but I'm gonna stay in Dallas. I can't remember if they did before they signed them. I'm gonna go with CD.
CeeDee Lamb is a strike for Bill.
I have one.
Bullshit.
So I guess we can give a hint, but I have one that I'm 100% sure of. So I don't know.
I mean, this is between you and Bill. If you want the hint this round or you want it next round, this is you and Bill got to figure it out.
I don't want it this round because I have one.
All right, but what is it has to be unanimous.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he said no, so even if I say yes, it can't be unanimous.
I mean, I'll take it. I'll take a hint. That's fine.
All right. So do you want?
I know 100%.
I don't know what hints you want, but let's go with this. There are
10 seconds.
I'm trying to think of the best way to go through this. In 2022, you still have 1, 2, 3, 4 people left in 2022.
Okay.
You still have 1, 2, 3, 4 people left in 2023, and you've only gotten 2 people from the 2024 class.
Okay, that's fair hint. Can I just give mine now?
Yeah.
Before you go, we both have what? One strike, and we're tied.
Yes.
Okay.
The only one I'm 100% sure of, and it's just because of how it happened, was L'Jarius Sneed.
L'Jarius Sneed is correct. 2024.
100%. That's the last one I'm sure of. Now I'm playing around with this. I don't know again.
20 for you, Bill.
Who did you guys franchise?
21. Would you do something for me? Would you let a bit of boost something for me?
I'll go to limb here because I feel like I remember this. I could be wrong because I feel like when it happened, I was like, Cleveland's being Cleveland. Did you guys franchise David Njoku?
David Njoku did get franchise tag in 2022.
Okay.
I'm like almost out now.
Good.
I don't know
how you
Darius Sneed. I don't know.
Darius Sneed signed a huge contract with the Titans the year after he got franchise tag, bro. It's very obvious.
Franchise.
All I'm looking at is guys that signed huge contracts and got franchised before them. So I'm just trying to go through teams, and now I'm stalling. That's what I'm doing right now.
Well, you got 20 seconds, buddy.
Here we go. I got 20 seconds now. So that whole repertoire gave me an extra 8 seconds of talking.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking. I was just trying to go through teams. I don't know if the Eagles have franchised anyone. Like, Giants, Saquon, Dallas. We went through. Commanders,
5 seconds, buddy.
buddy. Give me Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is strike 2.
I thought he was franchised before he played, but he signed an extension in Minnesota, but whatever.
Bill, 20 seconds. And then I will go. I'm working on the second hint for you guys to get you rolling.
And how many did you say in 2024 there were?
At the time you had 4 more. Wait, you said in 2024?
Yeah.
Total there were 8 total. And at the time that I gave you guys the hint, you only had 2, but Gene added in L'Jarius Sneed, so there's 5 left.
Oh my God, I just got one. I got one. My favorite player, one of my favorite players in football.
I will go. Was Brandon Ayuk tagged?
Brandon Ayuk was not tagged this year here. So we got 2 strikes for each.
One of my favorite players in football. Cornerback, I think he's one of the best corners. I think I had him number 1 this year. Jalen Johnson was tagged by Chicago, 100%.
Jalen Johnson was tagged by Chicago. 2024.
When I was going through divisions, I got the Kirk Cousins. I'm like, Packers, no. Bear. Oh, like I'm going through divisions right now.
All right, Bill. It is on to you to stay alive.
I can't think of the dude thing from Kansas City.
Well, you got 10 seconds to figure it out.
21.
Is it
3, 2?
Is it 1? His last name Smith. Is it Troy?
It is not Troy Smith.
It's Trey. It's Trey. Did Trey Smith get tagged this year?
It is Trey Smith. Trey Smith was the only one to get tagged.
Let's go, baby. I'll take it.
So players that you missed here. Antoine Winfield got tagged in 2024.
God, I don't think I would have got that.
Michael Pittman got tagged in 2024. Justin Madubuike got tagged in 2024.
You got that.
Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars got tagged in 2024. In 2023, you had Daron Payne. Lamar Jackson got tagged in 2023 as well.
I had Lamar.
Oh,
he had Lamar.
Forgot that you had that. Evan Ingram. Don't remember if you guys said that or not.
No, I didn't.
And then from 2022, these were the tough ones. Mike Gesicki got tagged.
From it's funny. I remember that from the Dolphins. I remember that.
Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown got tagged from the Chiefs, and then Jesse Bates got tagged. Jesse Bates got tagged from the Bengals.
Bengals love tagging players they don't want to pay. I remember that. Big Jesse Bates fan, obviously.
But yeah, that was the list there.
It's a good list. Good question. Fun. I don't know why I didn't remember Trey Smith this year. It just happened the other day. And when he's like Kansas City and then he goes Smith, I'm like, fuck, he's going to get Trey Smith. But good trivia.
All right. Well, you want to go over? You want to do the bracket? You guys want to do the bracket now?
Bracket, baby. Ready. We're doing the Elite 8. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Down. So you got to remember. I got to remember. I don't remember who won in the 8-9 because I just already had Kobe past them.
Vic Scandal won.
Yeah, I'm going with Kobe here. The Kobe passing is going to be very tough to beat. I legit cried. I don't remember crying over another sports moment. I mean, bro, when that story kept coming out, like the more and more information that came out of that story, like then like you heard Gianna was on the plane, like it just it broke my heart. And then you hear what they were doing. They were going to her basketball practice. Like that broke my heart. And I'm going to go Kobe here because the Vic scandal was wild. But I said before, the reason that he was arrested was not because of him killing dogs. It was because of racketeering. So like that kind of took a little luster off of it for me. Like the government just couldn't take their money on the gambling. So I'm going with Kobe passing, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, this one's easy for me. It's Kobe. Same kind of thing. I remember actually being home that day, and I remember I saw it on Twitter, but it was like TMZ was like the first one to report it. And then I remember like a bunch of people texted me. And I was like, dude, like it's nowhere else. Like, and there was like this like 25 minute gap before it showed up on ESPN or Fox or anything. And I remember like I was like, oh, like TMZ just get it wrong. Like, there's no way Kobe's dead. Like, there's like what you know what I mean? I was like, TMZ got it wrong. And then I remember watching SportsCenter and like you could see it like I guess once it had been confirmed, like I can't remember who was anchoring that day, but like both their faces were like white because they knew they were gonna have to like break the news and say it. And it was like it was so hard to watch, man. It was so hard to watch, but at the same time, like I think I watched ESPN for like 3 hours straight as like more and more info about it just kept coming out and just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So it's definitely unfortunately it's Kobe for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this off here with the sweep. It's definitely Kobe for me too. Exactly what Jory said here. You remember exactly what you were doing and where you were at. It's 2020. Was at home. It was Sunday, night after the basketball game. I'm just chilling. It was around noon, somewhere around that time frame. And you know, I see the TMZ report that Shally was alluding to there. And I remember going to go talk to my mom about it, like, yo, like Kobe died. And they're like, what? Like, you know, she turns on the TV, nothing's there. Like, no, that's not real. I'm like, TMZ is reporting it, and like, you know, you seeing more people talk about it on Twitter and stuff. And sure enough, you know, it comes out that you know they had the crash there. So with that one, it was just something that was so obviously so unexpected, but it was also just like Kobe and his legacy, and you know, especially at that point of where he was in his career, it felt like he was bigger. Like that couldn't possibly happen to Kobe Bryant. Like he's enjoying retirement. He's coaching his daughter. Like Kobe can't die in a plane crash like that. That's not possible. So for me, it's definitely Kobe's passing with that.
Yeah. So it looks like you agree with the rest of them. We're on the next round. We just didn't update. We can't update the bracket. It's not our bracket. But looks like Luck's retirement is an agreement with professional BSers. So I appreciate you stopping by, my guy. I completely disagree with that. But Andrew Luck's retirement or Lance Armstrong's steroids is in the next round. I mean, I guess I have to go with Lance Armstrong steroids. I don't want to go first every time. I'm going to stop doing that. But I guess I got to go with Lance Armstrong steroids because I didn't think Andrew Luck's retirement should make it this round. But either way, I'm telling you right now, if there's no way that Kobe's not in the finals. Like, because there's only two that can beat him in the whole thing, and they're on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it's Lance for me. You know, I said a lot about this last week. I think people forget for that 5 or 6 year run how big Lance Armstrong was. He became a mainstream like star, like everywhere he went. Everybody knew Lance Armstrong was. Talk about the bracelets that just kept getting sold over and over and over for year after year after year. And he was one of those guys that was kind of like, you know, pegged as kind of like one of the golden boys. Started dating like famous people. Like he was all over. Like he was huge, man. So this one, as much as I think the Andrew Luck thing was nuts, but this one's easy for me. It's definitely Lance Armstrong.
I would have rolled with Andrew Luck in his retirement there. So I'll show Andrew some love there. You don't go out, you don't get swept in this one, but obviously Lance Armstrong is moving on.
Can we just sweep Kobe into the finals? There's no way that beats Kobe. I'm sorry. just do the right side real quick, and we'll kind of get to the Final Four next week.
This is the matchup of all matchups right here.
Yeah, the Tiger scandal versus the PSU scandal. I would like to go last here. I went first the last two.
I'll go in the middle.
All right, so I'll go first here. I got the upset, gentlemen. Give me Penn State, the Penn State scandal. It rocked college football. Anytime that you mention the word, obviously it didn't happen, but anytime the death sentence is on the table for a college football program, serious stuff. And obviously, Penn State luckily avoided that there. But it was absolutely nuts. Like the whole thing, who knew what, who reported what, and obviously it was so much later after these instances had happened. But it was like Joe Paterno is this all-time legend, and this is his program. Like that can't happen at Penn State. And then obviously the more and more came out about it. It was absolutely wild there. I know you guys will give Tiger scandal a lot more love here, but for me, I got to get the upset out the way. Give me Joe Paul as the Joe Paul and the PSU scandal. Obviously, it wasn't his scandal, but Jerry Sandusky and what happened at Penn State as the more shocking sports story in this matchup.
This is tough because there's so many layers to both of these.
Yeah.
Tiger thing, again, wake up in the morning, there's the white Escalade at the end of the driveway with the 3-iron sticking out of the window. All right, Tiger and his Swedish supermodel wife got in a fight, like whatever. Then there's, as the story keeps breaking, there's injuries called in. And then for lack of a better term, man, Tiger Woods' life just kind of unraveled in the space of like 5 days. And this gets a lot of extra points because Tiger at that point, if you want to argue LeBron James, you could, was the number one athlete on the planet. And I'm talking global brand. Not only that, he was the best golfer on the planet. Nike billions, houses everywhere. And then, and again,
video games,
like you name it, he had it. Let's just shorten it up and say that. And again, Swedish supermodel wife, and then you come to find out, he's hanging out with porn stars, he's banging waitresses from Perkins. I mean, it got nuts. The Paterno thing, most of the people that are listening is watching this. Gene will understand this. If you grew up in this area, Joe Paterno, for lack of a better terms, was like a grandfather, dad-like figure. Like you grew up eating, breathing Penn State football. And it was, you go to Penn State because they do everything right there. They do everything the right way. He's hard on kids, but he teaches them to be better human beings. Like it was like, I don't want to say it was godlike, but like he had that reputation and that program did. To his credit, it was so wholesome, and like if you were from around here, you had a chance to go play there. Like it meant something. For that to break and just shatter all of it within 24 hours, which is really all it took. Like Cottrell said, Penn State went from being the program that almost everybody looked up to. Like, that's how you run a clean program. There was never cheating scandals. There was never money scandals. There was never steroid scandals. You never heard a bad word about Penn State. And then all of a sudden, they have a cover-up of a high-profile assistant coach using football camps to, rape little kids. I don't know. I mean, that's what it was.
I get it.
There's no need to sugarcoat it anymore. Like, that's what it was. We joke about like me, being a Michigan fan, but like I said, like I grew up a Penn State fan. Like I root against Penn State 1 week a year, and that's if they play us. But like I grew up that way. I grew up that childhood. I grew up with my dad telling me, that guy does everything right. Like that was, that not for different reasons than Kobe, but that was one of those things that like I remember vividly, like when it broke and kind of like shook me to the core type thing. So it's Penn State for me.
Okay, so it's already wrapped up. Okay, that's 2-0. So we really don't. It's funny. I kind of wanted to give something about Penn State, but I figured we had a show that needed to end in 2 hours. But it's the Penn State thing. I worked with a guy named Matt Lowry. I don't know if anybody knows who Matt Lowry is, but he was a 4-star recruit out of Springfield. He went to Cardinal O'Hara. He worked with me, and he told me a story about Matt Lowry. And he said, Matt Lowry told me a story about Joe Pa, and he said, when everybody went to recruit me, I was a 4-star kid, and they're all telling me they want me to play there. And Lowry went in there and said, or Paterno went in there and said, well, I don't know if you should come play for us. You're flat-footed. You're kind of slow. I don't think you're going to make it to the next level. And Lowry's sitting there like fired up in this interview. He's just like in this conversation with them. And he's like, he just made me want to run through a wall and prove him wrong. So I signed with Penn State. It was local. But it's funny how he told the story. And Joe Pa was that like type of, like it was Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden. They were the two coaches that you thought of in college football. I think if this survey is ran anywhere else in the country, it's probably Tiger. But I'll go Joe Pa also, the PSU scandal, and everything that happened with it. Last one, we have the Hernandez murders and the Astros cheating one.
Yes.
Okay. We all agreed that the decision was just not really shocking, but dramatic. But the Hernandez murders is going to move on here. I'm sorry. I don't like. This is not one we're going to leave up for chance. This is the answer, right? We're not like doing anything silly here, are we?
I'm not. Again, I think the Houston thing was a big deal, but again, I mean, I said it last week. The fact that Hernandez is playing, practicing and playing football games during the day, and then at night just running around murking people,
running around murdering people.
It's shit's wild. So it's Aaron Hernandez for me.
And it's the fact that he had just signed a contract extension. Like you just signed a contract extension, and you already kind of got away with murder the first time. You had the double homicide in Florida, or wherever it yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in Florida. You had double homicide. You really got away with it. It had been years since that had happened, and then it comes out that you kill somebody. And at first it was like he's just a person that we want to talk to a little bit more about. And then, you hear about him being the actual suspect in the case. And then all the evidence that's, pretty damning in the situation there. Meanwhile, he's just going up, being Bill Belichick's gadget guy all over the field, helping the Patriots win. Like absolutely nuts for a guy that's in the prime of his career at tight end position, who was a shouldn't say top 5, but for bona fide top 10 tight end at the time, for him to just be convicted of not just one murder, but 3 different murders essentially, absolutely nuts there. So Aaron Hernandez has to move on.
Guys, we'll get into the Final Four next week. We'll wrap it up and we'll finish it. But to have the Hernandez murders, the PSU scandal, and the Kobe Bryant, I think they're 3 out of the top 5. I don't think we did that bad.
No.
Yeah. I think the matchups kind of played to us not getting the other 2 in the Final Four, but that doesn't matter. I think the bottom left bracket was just not. We could have. You put the Tiger in the bottom left bracket, you have 4.
Yep. For sure.
Got to talk about some UFC. We got a UFC fight we have a UFC fight that's going to happen Saturday. What the hell is the UFC doing, bro? Can we like stop this already?
I don't know. It feels like Dana is doing this thing where he makes the fight nights like super exciting, and he's giving us these good fight night cards, and essentially for free because it's on ESPN Plus. You don't have it's not a pay per view, but then you give us this, and you look at this in the co-main event. Dan Hooker's no longer fighting. You get Rafael Fiziev fighting there in his place. But I'm with you, Gene. This is getting silly, especially with all the great talent that you have in the UFC. This is stuff that should not be happening. Give us the Islams. Give us the Shemaevs. Like there's so many interesting fighters that don't. There's so many great fighters that don't even have belts. Like Bo Nickel, for example. You throw Bo Nickel on this card and you actually give him a good fight, then this is a whole different ball game. But it just feels like we're getting some lackluster pay-per-views to start the year off.
Bro, and even the next one, you got Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes, which is not a terrible fight. And then you fill it up with Michael Chandler versus Patty Pimblett. Are we serious right now? I don't want to – I'm not going to go too far. Are we talking about any other fight outside of Alex and Ankalaev?
I mean, I really don't think we need to. I think the Gaethje and Fiziev fight will be entertaining. Like, if you like to see people strike, it's going to be that. I mean, Justin Gaethje, his whole career in the UFC, he's got a performance bonus every single time he stepped in the cage. So it's going to be an exciting fight to watch. But as far as, it mattering or, any stakes for the division, it's really a pointless fight, especially now that it's kind of a throw-in last-minute replacement fight.
I also think that this Pereira versus Ankalaev fight is not going to be as good as fights people think it's going to be. You're talking about a guy that, and look, I'm not being that guy, but he had a no contest versus Johnny Walker Blue, and I get it. Then he had the draw versus Jan Blachowicz. Like, this guy's not been a world beater by any sense of the word. I don't think he's going to beat Alex. I think this is another fight where Alex kind of runs through him. I would understand if he could take him down and if he's just this great takedown guy, but his accuracy is one of the lowest in the division. I don't think he's going to be able to stand with Alex. I think Alex knocks him out. Am I wrong to say that? I don't think so.
It's kind of where I see it.
I mean, I think I look at it like this. Magomed is one of those guys. He's, Dagestani guy where he's got Sambo. If he wants a shot to actually win this fight, he's going to have to try and take this fight to the ground. That's the only way that he's not going to outstrike Alex Pereira, especially with Alex's background in kickboxing. Like, he's going to be able to keep his distance. And Alex packs the power as well. So I think if, Magomed was talking a big game about, I don't have to go for takedowns. Like, I'm going to stand up. Like, I'm going to stand and fight Alex. But that's not how you beat Alex, not in this situation, especially knowing that you're the stronger wrestler there. So I think Ankalaev, if he wants to win this fight, he relies on the wrestling, tries to put the fight on the mat. And if that's the case, that means we get a pretty boring fight. If Ankalaev is getting Alex to the ground, they're kind of just laying there. But I'm with you guys. I think Alex is ultimately going to catch him, especially as we get deeper in that fight. I'm going third round knockout, and Alex remains champion at light heavyweight.
I think I just want to plead to UFC. We want to talk about your cards. We used to wish that there was 2 to 3 good fights on the card. Stop making cards with one good fight and then a bunch of fights that have no relevance to any title bracket or where people are going. Like, even the undercard on this fight, there's not even a lot of good fights on the undercard. Just like there's nothing I look forward to on this card. I'm gonna watch it because I'm a degenerate, but like I don't care that much.
These guys gotta want to fight, man. I mean, that's part of the problem too. I mean, you look at like Pereira's fighting like every third month. Yeah. I mean, if he's fighting that much, and then you got other guys like, I hate to say it, but like John fought, now we may never see him again, or if we do, it's going to be another, 8 months. All these other champs want 8 months off between every fight. Like, get in the goddamn ring, fight. That's what you're supposed to do.
Is there anybody on this card you're looking forward to watching fight, Cottrell? I mean, a lot of people have been saying Mauricio Rufy, but like, I don't know of how good he's going to be, and he's going against King Green.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Green he's always the exciting one to watch. So I mean, I was actually going to say that fight, just because you never know what you're gonna get with Bobby in there. But I mean, as a whole though, like I like Jalen Turner, but this is a fight that really doesn't do much for him, especially after a couple of losses that he's taken in his past few fights. So I mean, not really. Again, like you said, I'll watch. I'm a fan of the sport in general, and I think these fights will be entertaining, especially the Gaethje fight. Like I really do think that's probably going to be the most exciting fight of the night. But as a whole, as far as like just making me excited for the future, there's really not much of that, because even after Alex wins, it's like, all right, well, I mean, what's next? Like you've already beaten the top contenders from the weight class, so I mean, do we actually get to see you move up to heavyweight and potentially face John, or is John having to face Tom Aspinall first? So just a lot of uncertainty here, and I'm just disappointed with how we're starting the year off with the UFC.
To tell you how bad the card is, Jalen Turner is the third fight on the card, and he's even money in this fight, and he's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, and none of them have been good fights to watch. Like that's what you're looking at, right? Like I don't know, man. I guess his knockout over Bobby Green was fun to watch. But, like, other than that, like, Jalen Turner has been in 4 fights. He's lost 3 of them. Dan Hooker beat him. Gamrot beat him. Moicano beat him. Like, I don't know. That's their 3rd fight. And he's in a 50-50 fight with a guy who shouldn't be on the main card.
Agreed.
Sorry.
It's nuts.
I'm sorry. I'm done.
We're done.
All right. Let's get into college basketball, because that shit's way more exciting. We are going to have, anybody listening out there, the biggest wire-to-wire March Madness bracket in the history. It's going to be $20 bracket. And the winner, don't quote me yet, we got to see how many brackets, is going to take $1,000 home. You heard me. I said it. $1,000 is going to go to the winner of this bracket. It's going to change someone's life. Not really. I'm just kidding. $1,000 is not changing my life. I might be able to
might change their month a little bit.
change their month.
We're changing months out here.
Are you going to win $1,000 in the wire-to-wire bracket? You know what's more important than $1,000? The glory. The glory. I'll take the $1,000. But as we go to the road to March Madness, what are we looking at, Cottrell? Do we have a bracketology for us this week, or we just
no brackets this week? I just wanted to have a general discussion with college basketball here, especially considering that next Wednesday we're going to have our full breakdown of the Power 5 conferences there, with all the tournaments starting. I think all the major tournaments start on Wednesday, so it's like perfect timing for us. Kind of worked out well for us this year. I know, Bill, you mentioned that some of the tournaments are actually starting today. Some of the smaller ones, like I know the A10, Patriot League, stuff like that, will be going on and sprinkled throughout the week there. I know the MAC is actually going to be starting up here soon as well. But as a whole, though, I just wanted to get a feel for where you guys were at. We kind of ducked out on college basketball last week just for the sake of time here. But before these tournaments start and just, we see all the seeds and see how everything's going to be. I mean, what are you guys looking forward to going into tourney season?
I'm very curious to see who comes out of the SEC and who can run that gauntlet. And if it ends up being counterproductive, that's going to be 5 days in a row of most likely playing a ranked team every day. Physical, great basketball, to kind of come out of that and win it, and then kind of have to reset and get right back into the tournament. I think in a weird way it could have a negative effect depending on what happens with the team. I'm curious to see what happens in the Big Ten, because I think as down as we were on that conference at the beginning of the year, I think it's ended up being a little bit better than we thought it was going to be. I think there's 4 or 5 teams that can win that conference. And then I think this is a year where it's going to be really fun to see all the smaller schools this year. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for them to have kind of the big moment because I think there's going to be so many quality, with as deep as the SEC and the Big Ten. You're talking about almost half the field between those two conferences, maybe. The huge upset might not happen this year. But that being said, we always say that, and there is always one. So it'll be. I think it's gonna be a grind this year. I do, but I say that in a good way.
I want to say this. I kind of wanted to. Outside of this weird, I don't know where it came from. This weird loss for Florida. I don't know if you guys watched the Florida-Georgia game. That was insane. Georgia, first half, just shot the friggin' lights out. Like, couldn't miss from anything. And then Florida almost came back and won that basketball game. Georgia held on. But outside of the Georgia game, there's not a team playing better basketball in Florida. They're not. And they're beating Alabama tonight.
Beating Bama by 10 right now in Bama.
There's so many teams in these rankings that are fun to watch, and they're loaded, right? I love Duke. Auburn's played great basketball all year. I think Tennessee's an early exit, guys. I've been high on Tennessee the last few years. Remember Dalton Connect? Remember all that stuff? I think Tennessee's an early exit. Do not pick them in your Final Four. I'm not feeling great about them. Every time they go against Kentucky, they lose. They got
a good Alabama win though last week.
They did. Alabama
was a beater.
Feeling right now, bro.
I mean, but that's also part of it though. Is Alabama reeling, or are they just facing really good teams back to back to back? Like, what does Alabama look like when they get a little breathing room? Like when they get to go see like they get to go. I don't even know what kind of school to throw out there for them, but they get to go see let's say like a Villanova. Not to say that they won't play hard, but a team of that caliber. They go see Seton Hall for a round before facing like other schools, just ramping back up to that level of competition.
You know what's ridiculous about Alabama? I just looked this up just because you said it. They played Auburn, ranked teams, everyone. Auburn, Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Tennessee. Tonight they have Florida. Then they go at Auburn. Their last 7 games of the season are all ranked teams.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what do they look like when they get a breath of fresh air?
And my point to that being, the thing about that, they're going to finish at Auburn and then
SEC tournament.
Yeah, they're going to turn around 3 days later and play them all again in some combination. So that's what I'm saying. I think the grind of the SEC. I think there'll be teams that come out of it that are better for it. But I think you could see a team that makes a run and in that tournament and it just destroys them. It's play that many tough games against ranked opponents, get banged up that much, just the mental exhaustion of having to play in big game after big game after big game, like Cottrell said, and like no breathing room. Like usually, like, not a shot at like Missouri or anything, but like usually, like, all right, we play Kentucky and we Bama, but then we got Missouri and say Georgia. So like, we get through these 2 weeks.
Yeah, you go play our C game and we recoup and we get to go.
Get a W. It's like, nah, we're going to Kentucky next. And you come back and like, oh, Auburn's in town next week. And then you leave there and you're like, oh, we got to go play Ole Miss, who's not ranked, but they're 10-6. Like, it's nuts, dude. It's nuts. And that's what I mean about how you break the bracket down. There's going to be 3 or 4 SEC teams in every single quarter of the bracket. There's going to be 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. What top 10 team do you think is overrated, and what top 10 team do you think maybe like 11 to 20 team is underrated?
Let me go look at
I'm sending the rankings.
I know the overrated. My overrated team. I only brought this topic up because I wanted to say this out loud. I cannot wait to watch St. John's fall on their face in the second round of this tournament. They are not that good. I'm sorry. I don't think
I'm out on that one.
Same.
You can be out on it all you want. I watched Villanova beat them, bro. They're not that good. They struggled to beat Butler. I'm telling you, St. John's is not that team.
I would say my underrated team, actually, in the top, like now that I'm looking at the rankings here, I don't really have a team that I think is overrated in the top 10. I'm going to cheat a little bit, I guess, and go down a little bit more. I go down to 12. I think Wisconsin at 12 there. Like I said it last or 2 weeks ago. I think if they've played good basketball. They got a couple quality wins, especially as of late. I think they beat Michigan State, maybe. They got a quality top 25 win.
They
Or
got hot
Illinois.
at
They
the
beat
right time.
Illinois. They beat Illinois a couple weeks ago. But regardless, though, I think if Wisconsin is on your 2 or your 3 line, you're licking your chops. Like, can't wait to take those guys out. And I think a team that's, I don't want to say underrated. They're probably right at the perfect spot right now. But a team that I'm expecting to make a run, that Clemson team showed me everything I needed to see in that game against Duke. And then looking at their numbers as a whole, when a team meets the Ken Palm like metrics as far as like the offensive efficiency and the defensive efficiency, it always stands out to you. When you can take care of the rock on offense and then defensively just put everybody through hell, that's what I want to see in the March Madness tournament. So Clemson's for me is a team that I'm buying a ton of stock in, that, you know, depending on who they're playing up against and what their matchups are, I can see making a deep run in this tournament.
I won't use Clemson because Cottrell used them, but I'll use a team that we've talked about before already, and I'll go down to 16, and I'll go to Memphis. Started out the year hot, kind of went through a lull, and they're kind of playing good basketball again. They are athletic enough, including the SEC teams, to play with anybody in the country. If they're not throwing the ball and turning the ball over, they are a very, very, they're going to be a very tough out if they play smart basketball. They are very capable of beating anybody in the top 10. Top 10 wise, I don't want to say I'm down on Iowa State. They're just banged up. They were a top 5 or 6 team for the last couple of weeks, and then both their leading scorers got hurt at the same time. And they've kind of been up and down since then. Their health, the health of that team will be important going into the tournament. If both those kids are good to go, then I think Iowa State's a team that can make noise, because I think they're very similar to Houston. They're big, they play great defense, and they score when they have to. So those would be the 2 for me.
So, look, when it's all said and done, I told you I think St. John's is one of those teams that I'm not high on. I'm really not. I don't think they're that good. I've watched them play a couple times this year. But a team, maybe you'll like this, maybe you won't. Hopefully Alex is listening. I think a team that can make some noise is Oregon. They're not even ranked, but I think Oregon can really make some noise. I think they're underrated. They had a win at Wisconsin earlier in the year. Looking at the top 20 and not cheating, right? I think that a team like Purdue can give a team in the top 10 fits. I think they're a team that can compete, right? They've had some losses that have been bad losses this year. They lost 4 games in a row. They lost to Michigan, Wisconsin. But I think they're a good basketball team. And I think when everything's said and done, I think they'll be able to compete. So that's where I'll go. I think St. John's is absolutely an early exit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Wisconsin, but I mean, the 4 line is where you're going to have, I mean, Michigan State's probably going to be a 2 seed. But Wisconsin, Purdue, and Michigan could all, I think 2 of them are actually slated to be on the 4 line right now. They're sneaky teams that give people fits. I agree with you on Purdue. They just went through a bad stretch, but it's going to be, I think Michigan State's probably the only team that's going to get a lot of love from the Big Ten. And that's going to be up to the other ones to see how they fare in the tournament, if they can knock anybody off.
And then I think the only other 2 teams that I want to talk about here was one being a team that we talk about year in and year out. That's Arizona. They definition of Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what Arizona team you're going to get, which night they're out there on the floor. I could see Arizona, being a team that catches fire, and, especially if Caleb Love's playing well, that they go out and they win 2 games in the tournament, and that Sweet 16 game, they're giving the 3 or whatever, if they're on the 6th line, maybe giving the 3s as much hell as possible there. But I can also see them being a team that they play the wrong way, the wrong night, they get upset and they lose the first round. So Arizona is one of those teams that I think is going to be a true wild card in the equation here. And the other one that I actually really like is Texas A&M. Texas A&M has been a team that we talk about on the show, especially bringing up the SEC. Wade Taylor IV is the guy who is obviously going to be the X factor. He's the leader of that team. He can fill up a stat sheet. When you have a player like that, you have the ability to go on these runs in the tournament. And I think with his experience and just with his ability to score, and the way that Texas A&M defends as well, I think Texas A&M is a team that can, that's right there on the brink of being in that top 25 there. I think they're at 23 or 24. Texas A&M is a team that I definitely look at as somebody that can make some noise in the tournament.
Well, they'll go to be ranked next week. They beat Auburn last night, so
be interesting to see how this plays out. Texas A&M, Texas Tech's a good basketball team. I'm not sure how much Texas Tech basketball you guys have caught, but they just beat Kansas the other night. Kansas is a freaking train wreck. But
they are heading in the wrong direction.
It's hilarious. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I think there's 12 teams that can win the NCAA tournament this year. I just threw that number out there. I don't know if that's right.
I was about to say, you know what, Gene? I might go crazy. I might say more.
I mean, Duke, Auburn, Houston, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, Gonzaga.
You said Tennessee not getting out of the first weekend,
but they can though. They can, yeah.
I'm saying can.
But I look at it. I think
like St. John's both lose in the first weekend.
I look at it like this too, though, Gene. Like I'm looking at teams like Kentucky sitting at 19, and I get it. They've definitely not going in the right direction, but that is 100% a team that can win a national championship if they're playing their best basketball in March.
And until that team decides to play defense consistently, that's why they're 19. I like watching them play. I've seen them play. I think they're exciting and they're explosive. They just simply have no desire to play defense.
True,
but it's going to be. I would go as far to say I'd say 10. 10 would be my number.
I mean, that's fair to say.
And I'll say this, and I'll say this for this reason. I don't agree with Gene on St. John's, but that being said, I don't think St. John's can win the national championship. So I don't think they're going out in the first week and they're falling off. But again, I don't think they're beating some combination of 3 or 4 of these teams in front of them in a row to win a national championship. So,
but Bill, if things fall the right way, do you think Michigan can win a national championship?
Well, I mean, like what teams don't show up to play? Like I'm ecstatic with the year, dude. Like I know that. I mean, it's way above expectation, especially where you're at in the conference and all that. Yeah, they've beaten Purdue, they've beaten everybody in the conference but Michigan State. But yeah, I mean, they would need help. Like I'm not saying they're going to be on the 4 line. Like I don't know if they're beating, a 1 in the Sweet 16. Like I don't think if that's I don't think they can beat Auburn, Duke. Houston would be a weird matchup just because of our bigs. I don't think they're beating Tennessee. They're not beating Florida. They could beat St. John's. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. If things fall the right way, like is that a team that you would put on that list?
Bro, it's
I'm saying could. I'm not saying will probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Are they good enough to win 5 games in a row if shit breaks exactly the way it needs to? Yeah, they are. They're good. But I'm saying within a reasonable situation of what's most likely going to happen, no.
I'll give you a team to watch out for early though. It's gonna be very tough for me to pick against Drake.
I knew you were about to say Drake. Bro, Drake is a good basketball team this year.
It's going to be very tough for me to pick against Drake in the first round. If they're 12 or they're an 11 and they're walking into one of these situations, I don't know, man. Drake, look out for Drake, bro.
Drake is a damn good basketball team, man. And they were good last year. They're obviously good again this year. I knew that was going to be the team that you were going to say there. They're going to be a scary out for sure.
Well, let's wrap it up. Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, gentlemen.
All right. So this week for me, Gene, are you going to the college football ranks?
No, you're good, bro.
All right. Awesome. So this week for me, I'm going with the guy who I had a lot of high hopes for this past weekend, and that's my guy, Isaiah Bond, out of Texas. So Isaiah Bond came out and said that he was actually, let's take it back to last year. After Xavier Worthy from Texas broke the combine record of a 4.21, immediately after he told Xavier Worthy, he's like, enjoy it while you can. I'm taking the record down next year. So he's doing all of his prep for the combine this year. He's doing his interviews and they're asking him about it. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking, easy. I'm going to go, 4.2 flat, easy. And if I'm feeling good, I might even go 4.1. Well, Isaiah, we had a lot of high hopes for you, buddy. And, we knew you were fast. We saw the tape. You were a very fast individual. But then the combine comes in and your first run, you break off a 4.41. And then the next run, you give us a 4.39. And that's not to say that you are not fast, because both of those are excellent times for you. But if you give us the expectation that you're going to be a 4.2 runner, and that's what you're known for is speed, and now we're looking at you as the 4.4 guy that I see other guys who are better route runners who have better size that are running the same numbers without that arrogance, what do you think that's going to do for your draft stock, buddy? So while 4.39 is way more than a respectable time, you would have been perfectly fine if you ran that. Teams would have been saying, hey, Isaiah Bond, great kid. He ran a 4.39. We saw the tape. He's a great football player too. But now we're just talking about Isaiah Bond, the guy who was delusional enough to think that he could go out and run a 4.2 and be a whole 0.2 of a second off of it. So this week for me, Isaiah Bond losing his goddamn mind thinking he could run a 4.2.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
That's the best part of that.
He
said, if I feel good, I'm going to run a 4.1.
Yeah.
I said that.
That's the best part of the line.
I said it. I said that.
Shally.
Good.
You have one?
Nope.
Come prepared, man. Jesus.
I'm always prepared. I just don't have
shit. I'm just kidding with you, bro. So mine this week, and I'm gonna go to the hardwood, and I think this is pretty easy to. Might be late. It might be a little late, but with the injury of Kyrie Irving tearing his ACL, and Anthony Davis having a groin injury, I got to go with Nico, from the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, because if you wanted this move to work, this is absolutely blown up in your face. Right now, the Lakers are the 2 seed, and Luka Doncic is looking like an all-world player. The Lakers defense has moved from 14th to 2nd in the NBA since Luka's been there. Now, look, granted, Luka's still no all-world defender. The point being is JJ Redick has been able to make it work with this group in LA. Meanwhile, the Dallas Mavericks are the 10 seed, and both their superstars, both their aging, often injured superstars are out. Anthony Davis is out, Kyrie Irving's out, and you're looking at a lottery pick, and you just traded away a 25-year-old superstar. I got it. I have to take this moment, right? It's very rare that a trade just blows up in someone's face this fast. This trade has absolutely blown up in the face of Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks. So for that, this week, Nico.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Good show, gentlemen. Any final thoughts?
I don't really have any final thoughts here, but actually, I got one. The one final thought for me is that Real Recognizes Real comes back this Saturday at noon, and my guy Alex Black Elmore did me the luxury of creating an awesome little commercial. So just to give you guys a little preview of what to expect this upcoming Saturday, without further ado.
Hike! Luke Montgomery played in that Tennessee game in at left guard.
Off the fake down the middle. Caught in stride. Ibuka touchdown. Buckeyes on fire.
And so we got Emeka Ibuka, first one on the list here. Film breakdown coming Saturday at noon. Super excited for it. Actually just got done watching all his film, so putting together all the notes there, and looking forward to being back on Saturdays.
I'm glad iBlack Elmore has the time to make you a commercial. I've asked him to make me 2 videos for a month. And this man, they were for the Super Bowl. It's already over now. I don't need them now, Alex.
He's got some free time. You got to know when to pull the right cards there, Gene. That's all.
No, dude, shout out to iBlack. Shout out to the Wire2Wire network. We have some news that we'll be announcing probably tomorrow morning. Some more things coming with Wire2Wire network. We are going to the moon, right? Like, we're Dogecoin. We're going to the moon. We can't use Dogecoin now because that's like, now that's, I can't. I just remember Doge going to the moon, but now I can't use it because this idiot's, never mind. I can't, I'm not getting pause. Thank you guys so much. Any final thoughts coming?
No, let's not get into politics.
No, I wasn't trying to. I was just talking about like the coin when it was going to the moon, and all of a sudden it just sparked my memory of it. Never mind. I'm not doing it. Any final?
It's on you, Gene.
No, I just Shall, you have anything you want to shout out?
I got nothing. We got
A couple days ago, something might have happened. I don't know.
a couple days ago.
Yeah, maybe Monday, Sunday. I don't know. Something happened. Shout out JD's birthday.
Who else's birthday is it?
Wasn't it your sister's?
Her birthday was yesterday. She's fine.
I was trying to shout out.
No,
JD's birthday.
No. In all seriousness, my little sister Katie's birthday was yesterday. She's 38. She's getting old. But
have to put her on blast.
Listen, it's a deep love. It's cutthroat at times, but no. Listen, there is nobody. I've said this before a million times on the show, other places. She's the best human being I know, and to be able to watch her turn into the person and the mother that she has been is one of my life's blessings. So it is. I wish her the happiest birthday as always, and I know she had a good day, and her reward was taking Jonathan to the doctors today. So she's having fun though. But happy birthday as always, and love you.
Shout out to Jory too. Happy birthday, Jor.
Yes, happy belated.
Happy belated. Got some birthdays in March, baby. March is getting I'm fired up. Are you off on Thursday and Friday yet? Are you off for on the 16th and 17th, whatever those dates are? I think 16th, 17th?
20th, 21st.
21st.
Are you off those days yet?
Off 20th. I'm going back to work on the 21st. So I'll be at home. I'll be at home watching the second day.
All days, all Thursday and Friday, from noon to midnight. I am sitting on a couch. Might do a couple watch-alongs. You never know. I got TV right there now. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL G and She Walls. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell, Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross, and we are signing out.